Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato SammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato SammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato SammaSambuddhassa. Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayada Gate Gate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayada Gate Gate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayada Gate Gate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. So now get yourself in a comfortable position for meditation. Remember, meditation is to help us to calm the mind, clear the mind, help us to make the mind more flexible, able to deal with all of the changes in life and all of the difficulties that may arise from time to time, as well as to help to us to perceive the nature of reality in the long run. So now gently close your eyes. Place your tongue on the upper palate of the mouth, just above the top teeth, with your lips gently touching. Have your body not rigid, but also not lazy, not stooping forward, the shoulders, but also not, like I said, not rigid. Just nice and middle path. Now initially bring your mind to your body, starting at the tips of the toes and releasing any tension that you may have in the body. This will help you to release any tension in the mind as well. Release the tension from the bottom of your feet, the balls, the arches, the heels, and also the top of the feet, around your ankles and Achilles tendons, and your lower leg, your calf muscles and shins. Now release the tension from around your knees, the front, sides and back of your knees, and your upper leg, the quad muscles at the front and the hamstrings at the back. Now from the midsection, the glute muscles at the back, the hip flexors on the sides, and the groin at the front. Now bring your attention to releasing any tension from your upper torso, beginning at the lower stomach, on and above your hips, and your lower back. Further up your stomach and your sides, up to the middle of your back. Your chest area underneath your arms, and the upper back. On the outsides, you have the lateral muscles, and in between the shoulder blades and the spine, you have the rhomboid muscles. Release the tension from there. Now release the tension from the upper trap muscles that run between the neck and the shoulders, as well as the shoulders. And your upper arms, the biceps and triceps, and your elbows and forearms, wrists, hands, fingers and thumbs. Now bring your focus up to release the tension from your neck, the front, sides, and back of your neck. And the back of your head, and the sides of your head, around your ears and temples. And from your face, around the cheekbones, cheeks, make sure you're not clenching your jaw, your chin, your mouth, your nose and sinuses and eye sockets and eyes. Make sure you're not frowning on your forehead. And finally, release any tension from the top of your head, the crown of your head. I'll make a note here that if you're finding it hard to release some tension sometimes, then you can manipulate the body by moving the body in that area. Now, very briefly, just scan your body from the bottom to the top, just to see if there's any tension you can release that's still there. And now bring your focus to your breathing, the breathing process, or the feeling of the breath, initially starting at the tip of your nose and following the feeling of the breath as it passes nice and cool as you breathe in, past your throat, past your chest area, and into your lungs. As you breathe in, the lungs expand. Due to this, the stomach rises a little. As you breathe out, the stomach drops as the lungs compress, and the air passes the back of your throat quite warm as it leaves the body. These are just some extra details to help you focus on your breath. So all your job is to do now is to focus on the breath. There's nothing else to do. Don't judge yourself. Don't try too hard. Don't try too little. When your mind wanders away from the breath, just be aware of it without judging, and then conscientiously replace your mind onto your breath. Sounds like a simple process. It is a simple process that can lead to profoundly deep states of consciousness and eventually to enlightenment. If you find that your mind wanders onto thoughts or emotions and feelings and the like, then just calmly replace it back onto the breath. The more you do this, the more it becomes natural to do so. If you find your mind becoming dull, then focus on the breath more brightly. This way, refocusing on the breath is the antidote for both the agitated and distracted mind, as well as the dull and sleepy mind. So now we will do this in silence for a few minutes. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself that you have taken this time to train or tame your mind, train your mind, slowly transform the mind to be able to eventually transcend the mind. What I like to call the 4 T's. Train or tame, train, transform, and transcend. Fill yourself with love and kindness. Metta in Pali, or Maitri in Sanskrit. Fill your whole being with this loving kindness. with this honesty and friendship, appreciation and respect and love. And while maintaining this loving kindness, filling your whole being, now also radiate it outwards to firstly include your family and friends, wishing that they have happiness and the causes of happiness, and that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And now also include strangers, those people that you may know a little or not at all, wishing that they are happy and free from unhappiness. And now you can include those that you find difficult. You could even say or call them enemies. Wish that all people have happiness and the causes of happiness, and are free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Now you can include all living beings, those that you have affinity towards, those you have indifference towards, and those that you are either fearful of or don't like somehow. Initially around your area where you live, all of the living beings that live on the land and fly through the air and live in the waters, may they all be happy and free from suffering. Now extend this loving kindness out further and further like a tidal wave of loving kindness throughout your state or county, eventually throughout your whole country. May there be peace everywhere. May loving kindness overcome hatred and anger and all other negativities. And now radiate this loving kindness to other countries, ones that you're familiar with, either through direct experience or indirect experience. And also those countries that you are not familiar with. Until loving kindness pervades the whole world. This is coming from yourself, from in your mind. You are now covering the whole earth with universal loving kindness. Radiate this loving kindness out beyond this world alone, throughout the whole solar system. May all the beings have happiness, be at peace, and be free from suffering, living in harmony. Now extend this loving kindness throughout the whole galaxy of solar systems. We call it the Milky Way. And throughout all of the galaxies within this universe, may there be peace everywhere. May universal loving kindness pervade the whole universe. And keep going, keep radiating out further and include infinite space without limit. And while maintaining this feeling of loving kindness and openness, be present here and now, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious pure of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. Okay, so we will continue our discussion. I'll just remind you, to listen to the Dharma. I don't know if you remember the examples the Buddha gave and other teachers have given, and I also give, is that we should be like a bowl the right way up with no holes and without yesterday's curdled milk in there. What I mean by that is if you are present but not really paying attention, it's like you're there but like the bowl's upside down. If you're being forgetful, distracted by other things, that's like having a bowl with holes in it. You don't retain very much at all. And if you have yesterday's curdled milk in there, that's a metaphor for having opinionated thoughts, hanging on to this, I believe that, rather than, in other words, what you're doing is affecting the pure Dharma teachings. So, if you pour the pure milk and mix it with yesterday's curdled milk, then the pure milk becomes curdled. So, in other words, listen to the Dharma with pure intentions. It's always very important. Benefit yourself by doing it that way. And, when we listen, try to listen and just hear it. And you can contemplate whether it's valid or not valid, or whether you're indifferent to it later on. That's the first wisdom tool the Buddha taught, is to hear. This also includes if you read or study. Just do it. Just do that. The second wisdom tool is contemplation, to analyze and investigate what it is you heard or read. And the third wisdom tool is to absorb your mind with it. In other words, meditate on it. Absorb the mind, and therefore when the mind is absorbed with this knowledge, then this will affect your actions and your words in a secondary way. But the primary is the mind. So the subject is the right concentration. Though what we're talking about at the moment, what we started last week, the 51 derivative mental factors, and discussion on this, as well as some details on this, on the 51 different mental factors or states. This also kind of goes over into right understanding as well, and right intentions and thoughts. But I thought that we can do these subjects here and now while we're still on the concentration aspect. And so we will continue to do this until we finish it. There's this one, the 51 derivative mental factors, as well as the 18 dhatus or realms of mental existence. And so we will talk about those in the coming weeks until we finish that. And then we will move on to the wisdom aspect of the Eightfold Path, which, as I mentioned, is right understanding and right intentions. So the 51 derivative mental factors, just to got my little notes here. There are 5 omnipresent, ever-functioning ones. There are 5 determining mental factors. There are 6 root delusions, 20 secondary afflictions or delusions, 11 virtuous or wholesome mental factors, and 4 changeable mental factors. And so today we will talk about the first 5, the omnipresent, ever-functioning mental factors, which we could call them, because I'll use some different words so that the terminology or the words being used don't cause any confusion. The English language, very intellectual language, so there are many different words we can use for the same thing. So I will give you some examples like that, but just loosely right now, the 5 in no specific order are contact, mental contact, conscious engagement, feelings or sensations, recognition or perception, and intentions. So I have prepared a few little points here that I want to mention to you. So the 5 omnipresent mental factors, every moment of consciousness and cognition, they are there. They're always present. They are instantly, spontaneously present. We don't have to try to get them. We can't push them away. They are always present. Interesting, isn't it? We don't think like this too much. But now we're going to go a little deeper into the mind being the source of all of our experiences. Both primary and secondary mind, which we'll talk about at a different time, cannot exist without them. Impossible. There would be no conscious moments without these 5 omnipresent mental factors. They are present in all virtuous, non-virtuous, and neutral states of mind. So whether we have a wholesome state of mind, they are still there. Where if we have an unwholesome state of mind, they are still there. Even a neutral state of mind, they are still there. The first one I'll mention, like I said, no specific order as such, but our sensations, so mental feelings. Even though the sensations arise from the contact between our sense faculties and the sense objects, and then give rise to the conscious moment, the consciousness at that time. The sensations come from that, but I want to talk about sensations first. So sensations relate to the 6 senses. Like I mentioned, they contact with an object. For instance, the eye sense. We see an outside, like I'm looking at the computer here now, and I can see your faces there. You know, so you're the objects, or the computer, and the images on the computer are the objects. My ability to see, there's a contact there. And then this gives rise to this conscious moment. But we'll go more into detail when we speak about the 6 senses and the 6 sense objects and the 6 consciousnesses after we finish this subject. The sensation then arises. The sensations are either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. They're both experienced on a gross level, in other words, an obvious level, obvious to perceive level. All we have to do is think about it, and then we can perceive it, but also on a very subtle level, which we can go into in the future. The main point to understand, though, is that any type of consciousness that is arising in every instant of experience contains an element of sensation. I think when you think about it, just on a little bit of a deeper level, I think it's very obvious, isn't it, that this is the case. If you don't think so, think deeper. So the next one is, we can use the word perception, which is probably the one we use most of the time here. But also we can use the words distinguishing and recognition and discrimination. Not discrimination in a negative sense, but to work out what is right, what is wrong, cold, hot, things like that. Light, distinguish light from dark, distinguish dark from light, from cold from hot, from this from that, from right from left, and so forth. So when we take a particular feature of an object and attach a conventional significance to it, this is a perception of this object. It is not labeling, though. It is not imputing a name or a concept as such. It is much more subtle than that. But it distinguishes it as one thing or another. Like I said, if we use the example of opposites, distinguishing cold from hot, from right from left, from right from wrong, and so forth. So that is the omnipresent mental factor of perception, or distinguishing, or recognition, or discrimination. And now the third one, the intention. You could also call this volition. The Buddha said in our intention or volition is where karma is created. Think about that. If our intention is good, we create good karma. If our intention is not good, we create bad karma. If our intention is neutral, then neutral karma. Of course, our goal on the Dharma path is to go beyond this, to go beyond wholesome and unwholesome, dualistic thinking, conceptual thinking. But right now, this is what we experience. We experience the wholesome, the unwholesome, the neutral, constantly, moment to moment. So Intention, conscious and spontaneous urge that causes the mind to engage with and experience objects. Conscious aim that guides our actions. Without it, the mind could not direct its attention towards any object whatsoever. There are all types of intention we're talking about here. The two that I can bring up very briefly here now, it includes the moment-to-moment intention. We have this moment-to-moment, unbroken in a way, you could say, like a string. This may or may not cause karma, depending on our habitual tendencies from the past. Like, for instance, if we're always angry and always basing everything on hatred and grudges and things like this, then we would, I'd say, be creating some form of karma in a negative sense. And likewise for the positive. But generally, you could say that it probably doesn't cause karma because it's just happening like that with intention, but without, strong intention, obvious intention. But also the principal intention it includes creates all of the karma, all the wholesome and unwholesome karma, and neutral as well. I think for some of you, maybe you're aware of what we call the 5 skandhas in Sanskrit, Kanda, and Pali. In English, the best word I found is aggregates. It's all of the aggregates that make up a living being. It includes our mentality and our physicality. They are forms, feelings, thoughts, impulses, and consciousness. Now, I'm using the word impulses there to replace intentions, actually. Impulsive mental reactions. We tend to react impulsively. That's the 4th skandha. That's where the karma is created. The 5th skandha, the 5th aggregate, is consciousness. So if I can go back to the first one, the physicality is known as form. This includes all of our physicality, which, all from the tiniest atoms and subatoms and so forth, right through to this gross being here that we have. Then we experience the world through our senses, or the outside world, I should say. And then this gives rise to feelings or mental sensations. When we have these mental sensations, we perceive them, recognize them, and then we impulsively react to that normally, unless we've created what I like to call, and some of you may have seen the article, the buffer zone. Create a buffer zone between our experience and the recognition of our experience, and give ourselves the opportunity to not impulsively react to it. For instance, if you bump your head on something hard, normally the sensation, we would have an unpleasant sensation. Then we recognize that unpleasant sensation, and unless we've trained our mind well, and we have this buffer zone, we then would react in a negative way, create some negative karma, and leave that karmic imprint on our consciousness. But likewise, if you're getting a nice massage, then your sensation mentally would normally be pleasant. Then you recognize that pleasant feeling or sensation, and then impulsively react with probably attachment. You wanted more, you want to keep this nice feeling. Then that's still, even though there's the attachment there still would create some nice feeling because you're rejoicing in something, and maybe even reciprocate by helping that other person with a massage or something like that. Then this is good action by giving generosity, giving of his services, and giving your good attitude, and therefore leaving a positive imprint on the consciousness. So I digressed slightly. Anyway, so we will go on to the next one, which is the 4th of the omnipresent mental factors, and that is contact. We have contact of the subject, which is the mind, and the object, which is all phenomena, mental and physical. There are 3 factors: preceding moment of consciousness, the object, and the sense faculty, which is associated, and with the associated consciousnesses. So you have this contact. There's a preceding moment of consciousness. Then there is the moment of consciousness, moment of contact between your sense or senses even, and then the object or objects, and then it gives rise to that moment of consciousness. It enables us to establish a relationship with the object or a feeling with it upon encountering it. Like I said before, this relates to all of the senses, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind, sixth sense, which gives rise to the objects that you are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. The pleasant tends to give rise to happiness. The unpleasant tends to give rise to unhappiness. And the neutral tends to give rise to neutral, obviously. So I see now we've only got about less than 2 minutes left. So I'll just mention this one without details. And then we can pick it up next week. So the fifth one is attention or conscious engagement. You could also call it awareness. It's the penetration of consciousness into or onto an object by paying some level of attention to it. Being aware of it. Create some sort of stability or focus, even if it's only brief stability and focus. So there is 1 minute to go. So these classes go by so quick when I'm normally used to teaching for at least 2 hours. Face-to-face with lots of questions. But those classes will come pretty soon. Remember for Melbourne and Sydney people that we have daylight savings. So the clocks go forward an hour tonight. Also Hanukkah, you need to know that in Britain. So you need to have a look and adjust your times for that. Hopefully it's not going to be too early for you. And anybody coming from other countries, please check that. So it's I still think it's called Australian Eastern Standard Time. But it may be called daylight savings time. I'm not sure. So take care, practice well, and share the Dharma well. Be happy. Free yourself from worries.